Welcome. I am Peggy Coffeen from the UpLevel Dairy podcast, bringing you these special stories this week on behalf of the National Dairy Shrine, honoring great people who have made an impact on the industry, and it is my honor to sit next to Bonnie Ayars. Welcome, Bonnie.
I'm glad to be here.
And now, Bonnie, you are one of the most respected cattle breeders, teachers, coaches, and advocates for agriculture, coming from developing a Guernsey herd in the land with the Land of the Living prefix, and teaching for 50 years.
53 now.
53 years
53
now.
now.
And in 2006, you accepted a position at Ohio State as a dairy program specialist that gave you the opportunity to work with 4-H dairy programs, with judging and coaching for collegiate programs as well, teaching animal science. And you're a pretty popular speaker with organizations, not just because of your experiences, but your energy that you bring to the table and that we can feel in the room with us right now. And not only that, you and your family also reach out to the community through your own products, and that's through ice cream made right on the farm and a cheese business as well.
Yes.
Bonnie, there's no moss growing under you now, is there?
Well, you know, just to address some of that, we're not great animal breeders, maybe, but we're people involved in the business. So I always have a home base for students, 4-H and college. I have a farm I can bring them to. I can talk about the real life issues of managing and operating a dairy farm and yet being off the farm as well. And the sheer energy too that takes. So I haven't always wanted to have it all, but my husband and I have always wanted to do it all. We don't want to leave a stone unturned in activities. So that's led us to many different things. And one of the things in there that you may not have is that we were the host farm for the Luke Bryan concert in 2018.
Whoa.
Now that was a grand experience too, built relationships there, and still with Luke in my phone. And the different things we can talk about as the kind of cultures blended and what he has done. It was a great experience, but that just kind of dropped out of the sky. So we've been lucky to be offered to do lots of things. And it wasn't just Bonnie, it was Bonnie, her husband, her family. It was a joint everything, dairy industry, people supporting us and vice versa.
Wow, so Bonnie, a heart and a passion that has led to doors opening up to places you couldn't have imagined, to bring people right through your doors into your own farm field, like Luke Bryan, country music superstar. But where did it all start? How'd you get your start?
Oh, yes. Well, I was a kid growing up on just a very a great little Jersey farm. My dad milked Jersey cows, and I was very happy to be a part of that situation where I learned and earned and went to different shows. And one time I had this really, really good cow. And my daddy said to me, you ought to sell her, because that will be your ticket to the future. And I've never, ever forgotten that. Anytime I teach a class, that's my premise. I sold her to plan my future. She went on to be third in the National Jersey Jug Show. She did very well for her new owners, and I couldn't have been happier. And then that sent me to college as the first generation college graduate for my family. But I did not go to college in agriculture or anything related. I was told by my guidance counselor, now Miss Tuttle, as my maiden name was, you could be a teacher or a nurse, because that would leave you your summers free to be a mother. It wasn't that expanded version, but I actually went to college in music. I had a music scholarship and sang, played the piano, and did all of that. But at one point in time, it just didn't feel like those were my kind of people, my rural community, and my niche. So I did transfer then to Ohio State through the dean at the time, who now has buildings named after him. He says, well, I knew him through 4-H and my 4-H activities. So then I did transfer, but we were called the Becky Homekis. It wasn't that my father thought it was quite appropriate for a young lady in the 60s to be majoring in animal sciences. You know, Bonnie girl, you need something that you can really use in your life. So I went into home economics, as it was called then. Now it's called the College of Human Ecology. We really upgraded that name. But it was right there at Ohio State. But that lent me to relationships with people across the river in animal sciences, activities together where I felt that comfort of rural people. And the opportunities were created, but let's remember, every time an opportunity is created, you have to use it or lose it. So every time it was, I attempted to use it. And some of them have been turned down, a few, but it has proven very effective. And I've always met people away. Didn't feel the gender bias some people talk about. I always felt welcome on the farm and the things we did, male veterinarians. But I'm the mother of 4 boys too. So having 4 boys changed my destiny, but I have a granddaughter now, so this is good. But those are the kinds of things that opened the doors for me that I was ambitious about seeking. Yeah. But they really life-altering. There's no other way to look around it, and I'm very thankful for the people who made those, and some of them are the mentors and icons that I continue to talk about with my students, and that they can look back that are so well in the memory of things at National Dairy Shrine. Yep, I know that guy, or I can point those things out. Really good.
Who are some of those people?
Oh, Maury Core. He's with Jersey at the time. Mr. Kavanaugh. Just wonderful people who set the stage in my youth and then became even my mentors in careers and knowing them and knowing their wives. And I was a National Jersey Queen one year. So that led me to open doors for other opportunities to go and travel, to be at these cow shows, to meet the people. And those people came back to be a part of my life and vice versa, and were included. So it was pretty exciting. It was a different era, but those people today, and I saw them last night at the banquet, I see them every day, but the Mr. Cores and Mr. Kavanaugh, I shivered the first time I met them because they were so great in my book. Like people would interview a pop icon star. It was more intimidating to meet them than Luke Bryan. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
They were your icons, your heroes.
Oh, they were. And that they knew my name, they knew my first name, was pretty exciting. But then again, they opened doors and pathways for me, even in my maturity and older ages, and we're just so dynamic. Lots of good stories, and we don't have time for all those. Those might be boring to somebody else.
But so you mentioned, Bonnie, that some of the people who have impacted you,
yes,
are the same people that you share what you learned from them with the students that you teach.
Oh,
now, talk a little bit about teaching. How did teaching fit into this path for you?
Well, I quickly learned when I was teaching in the first year. I mean, I walked in the classroom, I thought I was going to be sick to my stomach. I was so scared. But I learned high energy, high enthusiasm will match anything. You cannot let minds be bored. And sometimes it's just in your sheer actions or a little something you add in, they go, what'd you do that for? And that still works to captivate, draw them inward in their attention today. So teaching taught me more than maybe I taught to students. But I'd like to think upbeat, your stories, your vintage, little things that my kids laugh. I call a cow slab-sided, who doesn't, and I said, well, yeah, but you get the picture. Now, you can't say that. Little quips and quirks that you can throw in. You don't need to be boring. You don't need, again, back to that high energy, no phones. You know, put your phones away. You will not pass away in the time that you're here with me. I'll give you a break. Rules. And then there's always that dividing line. You're not a student. You want to be young thinking and acting, but you're also the mentor. So where do the two combine? It's a real iffy line with today's kids because we're very close. Once we have a judging team, those kids are all on my phone. I know exactly where they live, what they're doing, how many kids they've got, and we're still in touch. But you can't script that. It just happened, and my favorite quote is, and I tell the kids this all the time, you have defined my life, and at the same time, on occasion, saved my life. And that's what they are. And the other one is, hey, come on guys, listen to me, because I have more of a past and less of a future, and you have less of a future, or you have less of a past and more future. That's why you listen to me.
Ooh, that is some solid.
Well, it sends them
right
thinking.
there.
I can tell you. Wait a minute, what did she say? Did she say that right?
And
that's good.
I want to go back to your quote you shared right before that about you said defining their lives.
They have defined my life.
They have defined your
and at
life.
times they have saved my life.
What do you mean by that? Tell me more about that one.
They define my life because they're so unique, and I have felt respected. They've made me feel special in ways. Being a parent is absolutely special, but when you can extend that to so many other kids that you feel like you have parented, and you need to capture those moments. Winning is a great thing, but unless you capture the essence of what those kids meant to you beyond blue ribbons and in their life, they will come for advice. That's how they define me, to make me feel useful. Because when people age, the one thing that happens that's critical, they don't feel useful anymore. I'm just old, nobody understands me, I have this or I have that. Not with kids in my life. They make me feel useful. And at times, we all go through not so good, and we live through tragedies. And you don't always hide those or keep those hidden, because kids know. And unless you make it somewhat realistic, they don't feel comfortable. They don't know how to handle it. So at times, that relationship and having that retrospect saved my life, that I could move on to think there were good things I could do, and life is this way, and you will not forget, but you will move forward, I guess. Without getting too specific, it's just really, really important. And a lot of them sat there at that banquet last night for National Dairy Shrine, kids that I had, or I knew the kids from another university or different associations. It's a grand feeling. It is good.
So when you think about the years of teaching and coaching, do you have any guess how many students you've directly been involved with over the years?
Bunches. I just hope there was like throwing your little pebble in the water and watching it ripple out. That's what I think may have been most effective, by being who you are and authentic. I don't need to hide anything. Excuse me, but I always wanted to be authentic. I'm a real person. I have real problems. I live on a farm. I get it. I don't think kids see that with some of their professors. They're so highly academic and focused on that they fail to see the person behind the academics. I didn't have to create that. Dairy judging has done that plus some of the little interjections that I use in class to get to know kids. Or, oh yeah, did you know such and such from Florida too, or there? Yeah, how did you? Oh, it's a long story. Always trying to make them feel like they're not just just a single entity in such a large university, but that we really care and count for them. It's a good thing. It's all good. Remember, it makes me feel good too.
So that's been one of your arts over the years, is really helping people to see their own potential.
Yes.
Helping them to know that they're seen and they're heard with you, and having that support as they pursue their own dreams, huh?
Well, a lot of kids don't perceive where their skill set is. They have a skill set that I have to sometimes guide them into it. And the best example is kids will come in and they'll sit down in my office and they'll say, this is the third time I applied to vet school. What am I going to do? And I said, look, maybe it's time to change your dream. And then all of a sudden it gives them a new opening. And that person I'm even speaking of is now a highly respected 4-H educator, wrote a new dairy book for 4-H and handbook. She really went on from that initial dream and found a new one. But she didn't realize it was there. She had to be guided. And sometimes parents will say, oh, it's okay. I know that my son or daughter is a good person. They'll make good choices. When they're screaming for you, they want a parent to give them an opinion or to be honest. So that's what we try and do by knowing them, or that's maybe more my style than some people. It works for me. It might not work for somebody else. That's all.
And so through your role as a mentor, you would sometimes help those students see opportunity that is there that maybe they don't see. Maybe their eyes haven't been opened to, but you help to open their eyes to see that. And you said it before about opportunity. You said opportunity, how did you say it again?
It comes to you, but you have to take advantage of it. That is one of the big things. Don't miss out. They'll say, oh, I'm going to miss that dairy judging practice. Will I miss anything? What do you mean you miss anything? You'll miss 2 hours of what we're talking about and me ranting and raving over something or throwing a tissue box at you. The dreaded tissue box.
Might miss some injuries, huh? No.
Yeah, but we got insurance, don't worry. And that is the point. But you can't do everything either. You must make value-driven choices. And it's always your values that should guide you. You should be an example for what somebody thought you were, or as a scholarship. If they saw that into you, you make sure you follow up, that you don't let them down or lose their trust. Sometimes guiding kids to scholarships is another thing. What do you mean you don't have time to fill this out? You need money? Yeah. Well, I think I'd find the time. Leave something else out, set your priorities, that sort of thing. Even college students, or kids that are applying to college right now, there's a whole core group of them, I'm telling, this is how you fill out your form. You can't just make it so trite. What is the one thing that makes you unique, that you have got to get across? We do a veterinary interview skill workshop. And we try to help the kids find that in an interview. How do you sift and sort the conversation to the fact that you want to go to Appalachia and be a veterinarian? You want to go back there in a deprived area. And you came from that area, you want to give back. I said, if you don't guide it to that, you've missed the point of the interview. So, but it's easy to see those things with age. It's very, I can perceive it, but they're still learning about themselves. They don't know who they are. So we try to do that. Self-discovery.
Self-discovery and helping them see, go back to that word opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
See the opportunity to improve, the opportunity to tell their own story in a compelling way, and how that can open up those doors for their admissions, their scholarships, and their future path. And so going back to that word opportunity, you have pursued many opportunities, not just with your students, but from the farm to some of your personal endeavors like baking?
Well,
Baking, yes.
some of them I just tripped over, or by necessity. I was a mother to 4 boys. The sewing machine got put away, and we cooked because they're like little money pits to feed. Even the dairy judging kids, okay, I know we got to stop and get something to eat. Metabolism was very different. So cooking and baking, I had to begin to perfect to keep it interesting. So actually, I kind of stumbled onto that. And even though I was a Becky Home Eccy major, it wasn't like, I mean, I had to learn how to manage a home and everything outside of the home. Yeah. And this little balance act is really, really tough in life. Life's balance, it can get out of whack, it can go here, it can go there, but you have to find a perspective where something lifts itself to the top of the list every day. And you have to find that. So there it was with the boys. Okay, got to make food, got to have plenty of this. And hospitality went with that. How can I make food this social element to draw everybody else into our lives? And that's what it became when our boys were growing up, when our boys were in college at Ohio State. And some of the, I mean, like making cherry pie. I had a cherry tree. I had to use the cherries. So, and then all of a sudden, oh, these are sweet, these are tart. And then I had to experiment. And then my sister-in-law said, she says, you ought to enter that baking contest. It was Crisco pie, all-American contest. And you take a pie into the state fair, and they chose cherry pie as representative for our state. She said, so she entered me. I said, okay. So I came home from the state fair because we were showing cows that week. I made the pie, fed the calves, and went back to the fair. And my husband said, hey, we're at the wash rack, so you better get back over here to the barn. I said, okay. So I got back to the barn, to the wash rack, and it was a couple hours later, and here's this television crew walking to the wash rack, and they said, are you Bonnie Ayars? And I said, yeah. I think. Is it okay? And he said, well, you just won the pie contest. There were 50 pies there. I put my pie down and thought, whoa, this was like a really shot in the dark. Put the pie down, won the pie contest. And of course, everybody in the barn had a good joke with it. Is this pie for everybody? You know. So that was just like, never would have dreamed of that. Lucky? Probably. And then I had to pack up all my gears, and we cooked on the stage for the bake-off. We cooked on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah.
At the Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah. Every person from every state brought their pie. And then you put it out there. And I think these women sharpened their nails. I've been to cow shows and seen competition, but nothing like these women. I mean, they were, man, I brought my own pots and pans, but they were just like, oh yeah, what are you doing? I went, whoa, okay.
It was not their first rodeo.
Huh? No. It's like the cow show here is. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get through this just fine, I think. And you know, you made 2 pies so that you could select the one you wanted to be. So I did not win, okay, a little fluffy lemon meringue one from California, a fa-fa-foo-foo pie. I said, you know, yeah, no double crust there. But anyhow, I packed up my little goodies and I flew into Louisville to show at the cow show. But after that, they contacted me it was Family Circle in Crisco, and flew me to Chicago to do the voiceover to promote the contest. So I won something much more important, I thought, and teaching skills. Teaching skills took me there. That comfort zone around kids made a big difference, and teaching it brought me to the shavings at World Dairy Expo one year to be a judge. Teaching skills in front of a group. And there's nothing more frightening than 30 teenagers or college kids that look at you like, yeah, go ahead, teach me. Or, so what? So there was that edginess, but it was a great experience. I still make plenty of cherry pies, and It was a lot of fun, and another great story that led to other doors opening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that pie story, it goes back to what you shared, Bonnie, and that's, you didn't set out with the goal of making the best pie in the state, or winning on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. Your goal was bringing people together, giving them something to rally around, and
at the table,
getting people
at
to the
table.
So later on, in the last decade here, 15 years or so, you've done this in a different way through ice cream.
Oh, yes.
And cheese.
Actually, that was our youngest son. He had a capstone project that he was really wanting us to do a niche product on the farm. And you know what? I want to be careful about this because kids are so romanticized by the concept of a niche product. And it's really it's a very driven market and opportunity, and you got to be very social media conscious. You have to think of health and regulations and things like that. So my husband and I wanted to pursue this for our son. So we researched it, and of course our son was involved in all of that. We built a nice little building on our Boxstall farm where we make the ice cream. And then my son entered we were in several stores in Kroger's and Whole Foods, which is a real experience to get approved, your recipes. But we did it just like we did with cows. Yeah. The best you could possibly put into your cows for the best possible outcome. Quality was number one. Mm-hmm. And my own little niche, loving to be a little foodie, sample a little this, do a little bit of this, I could add that in there, that might work, taste and develop a skill set. Our son he really managed it all. I was kind of like a consultant. But then his life changed. He went more into marriage and family and kids. So I said, I don't want to give it up. So he said, well, I'll help run the machine and mechanics, because God forbid, I'm not mechanical. All the kids on my teams know that. If it works, Bonnie, don't fix it. Where are your keys? Did you leave your phone? So many, but all joking aside, he said, I'll run the mechanics, that of it. He comes in, and we make ice cream together. We come up with flavors. We just made Buckeye Bessie, peanut butter and caramel and chopped up Buckeyes in it. So it's football, people. It's football. So Bessie seemed perfect. Oh, that we even have a cow on campus named Buckeye Bessie. It's the one the kids can milk, and she's painted scarlet and gray, and she's been an excellent teaching tool as we transition into a new facility on campus. We're building a new multi-animal livestock species unit. So she's been great for a teaching tool. But anyhow, that's how the name came about. And the kids in my classroom sample all the ice cream. We could even do a set of reasons on vanilla chocolate and strawberry and mint chocolate chip, throwing in for a little diversity. Write a set of reasons one, right? And it's a good preliminary. See, you can do that. You compared. What's the problem here? Now transfer the language. But we transitioned over into that. And then what I also stumbled onto was that was our one-on-one time. We were able to talk, vent, share, and nobody interrupted us. It became something so much more than ice cream, or it has become. Now we're very behind on inventory. We got to get home and get working because we like house shows. It happens every fall, though. So it was something more than just, now I'm not going to send kids to school on what we do with ice cream, but the relationships built with personal markets and not the big tag stores, the personal markets, and seeing them, bringing people into the farm, say, can we go pet the calves while we're here? I said, sure. Leave your little order here and I'll have it ready. Just take it out of the freezer. Weddings, events, and a couple of coffee baristas and some country clubs that want to advertise this high-end 15% butterfat ice cream or the products that we put into it. And then the cheese, it's like we take our milk to have the cheese made because there wasn't enough manpower hours to be doing that on the farm. So then that became a market for FFAs, money making around the holidays and things like that. And whenever anybody comes to the farm, if I don't have a pie, I always have ice cream and cheese. Don't walk away empty-handed. Again, the hospitality moment in there about making everybody feel accessible or a part of it. Even Luke Bryan, he requested the ice cream. We made it. It's called Wild Strawberry, and right underneath it says P.S. It's a good thing. So we were able to make that fit as well.
Oh, wow. So Bonnie, just these stories that you've shared from teaching and to baking and ice cream, but they really, what they do is they really bring it all full circle to this impact that you've been so dedicated to having on youth at such an individual level, showing them what you see in them and giving them, it sounds like you're pretty good at giving them that little nudge, giving them that little prod to take action on, perhaps it's the dream they have, or perhaps it's a way that you can shift their vision to see something even better for their future. And so
that's why that luncheon yesterday was so important, and I wanted to sit with my kids because I was able to back there quietly connect them to what they were seeing and hearing. And they looked at me like, oh, heard that before, kind of thing that the younger professionals were saying up there, and importance. My daddy dreamed of shaking the hand of a Hoyard's Dairyman editor. He never perceived that he'd ever do that in his life. And one year when I came up here for Dairy Woman of the Year, I introduced him to Jean Meyer, the editor at the time. And my daddy didn't care he came up here for me. He met the editor. It's how our generations have become so much more expanded, and we're open to the world, not just our own little hometown. And these experiences we give kids are really important to see everything possible. And what's your goals? What do you dare to dream? Or they're good discussion questions in the van rides too, rather than let them sleep. Those are really, really important. But let me just say that somewhere along the way, I've had a partner who supported me, who allowed me to be me, who supported me, who drew me back in when I got too far out of line and had to remember what really matters. And we share the same vision of giving to youth in terms of our resources, in terms of our advice. I said there's I know I've done this at the youth convention for Holsteins. I said, when you come, you need to learn to write a thank you. That's really, really important. And you sign your name. The second thing that you need to do is after you write your name on that, you probably already shook the hand and said thank you. So I guess writing your name is the second thing. But the last thing is, you'll never be complete until you give back. And you will sign off on yourself then. Then it's like the Velveteen Rabbit. Then you will become real. So that's my big point. So we're somewhere here, we're real. We've lived it, we've seen it, we've done it, and now we're giving back. That's the last phase. And every time you give back, it involves you in one more segment of life, or another student, or their story, or I could share that. That's pretty good. And it's not just, it makes you feel special. Again, define your life. Oh, I guess.
Oh,
okay.
So good. And so such powerful words that you've been sharing here today. And when you think about, again, that impact on youth, the way that you have you've poured into them, but you've allowed them to pour their energy into you. And you said you're at this point of the giving back phase. Mm-hmm. So you don't seem like a lady to me that is done giving back or even doing new things. So what's next for you? What's
It's
next
not
for
retirement. It's
oh
not
no,
retirement.
you've been bored out of your mind.
I know Ohio State's kids sending me an email that says, "Are you thinking about retiring?" And it's kind of a joke around the office, you know, like, her? I don't think so. So, and right now, in my own office at Ohio State, I've seen the kids come in as undergraduate. Maybe they went away and got a master's degree, came back and get their doctorate, and now they're teaching there. I have seen full circle.
Wow.
In the students, and that's a pretty magnetic feeling.
Yeah.
It's good, but there'll be a point in time, but sometimes when I recruit kids, there's a commitment. There's a commitment. If you're coming, you anticipate that I will be there. So there's that anticipation, and I can keep up. There's no problem. My husband and I are both blessed with good health, and that makes all the difference in the world. That had to fall into place before anything else did, and for us to appreciate that and respect it, and it does. So those kids, they come in there, and I feel a commitment. But there will be an ending. And the ending is closer than the beginning. We all know that. But I really want to write. When I'm done, I really want to write. I've done a storybook as a Holstein Foundation fundraiser, the story of Santa Claus Farm, and I want to do more. I have works in my thoughts and ideas. I want to go out with Dairy Agenda and Cosmo, or write articles and to do things, to put these things somewhat into words. I've always enjoyed writing. I do little articles for Farm and Dairy magazine. God bless his heart and his soul. Art Nesbitt always met me at the door at National Dairy Shrine and asked me about, I read your latest article, I think you this or that, gave me an opinion. That meant all the world to, okay, I want to write more. I think I can do this. So I'm really certain that I would like for that to be that. And I really want to be, my husband, I really would like to be involved in our grandchildren's lives in making things happen and keeping us enriched with those blessings. They all are. Feel so good about them. And I had a grandson who was up here in showmanship, and he's just 11. So we're going to be older people. We're never going to, great grandchildren, I don't know. We're going to have to live a long while, but we can do it. But anyhow, we want to be around to make a difference in their lives. That's on the loom. That's what happens maybe next. And, bring some more good cows, finding some more good ones, developing some more good ones, and still having that desire to be involved with it. I love mating and matching cows. I didn't say I was any good at it, but I love asking my key friendships in the world, what are you seeing out there, Tim Abbott? Tell me, text Tim Abbott, or I'll ask him, or my students who have great skill sets that way and are following one breed that I need to follow better. I'm now turning around to them for advice. Boy, I think it makes them feel good too. Yeah, and it's humbling for me.
Aw. Well, Bonnie, you are a gift to the people that you interact with. You're a gift to the people that are lucky enough to sit next to you for a few moments. And we're just so blessed to be able to share your voice and your stories through this special project with National Dairy Shrine. And speaking of National Dairy Shrine, you in the last 5 years here have been one of the honorees, receiving a Pioneer Award in 2022. And take a moment and just reflect, what did that award mean to you?
It was daunting. It was daunting to think about what my parents thought. It was not my goal. A pioneer to me sounded like an old person. When you're younger, oh my God, I've arrived. Absolutely, I've been lucky to have things to be in the open, to have a career set that did that. But as I remember, in a very brief acceptance, it couldn't be any longer than a set of reasons. That was my goal, because that's what I taught. I didn't shatter glass ceilings. I never thought of it as shattering glass ceilings. I thought of it as pursuing what I could, what I should have, and what was made available. It was never that way. So, yeah, I know I've done some things other women are now aspiring to do, but it's my job to remind you it didn't always happen that way. And there are those of us who paved the path for you unknowingly. We were doing it, but now you need to reflect on where you're at and always analyzing your skills. So it's pretty impressive. There's no words to explain that. I can't say anything pretty enough. I can't say anything meaningful enough. It's a feeling in your gut that you have done something worthwhile. It wasn't about some plaque or award. What did I do worthwhile? And I have a whole office with those and stories, and like my first showmanship banner, or maybe the hat I wore when I was showing as a kid. Those are all reminders of where I have come from to be where I'm at, and yet there's room for more on my wall.
Oh.
I want it to be there. Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
more to come from Bonnie Ayars. Yes.
Yes.
Stay tuned, right?
You
Stay
betcha.
tuned. Well, Bonnie, again, an honor and a privilege to get to have a few moments to sit side by side with you and have this conversation about the woman and the stories that have made an impact on an industry and in such a way that has created that ripple effect through the people, through the students, through the lives that you've touched. And as you said, you're not done yet.
It's family, and it's families that extend beyond the realm of being blood.
Oh.
And it's really good. I'm excited for more.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. And again, so privileged to share these stories, capturing the people who have made and continue to make an impact on the dairy industry through National Dairy Shrine. I'm Peggy Coffeen from UpLevel Dairy Podcast, and thanks for listening with us today.